so it was my privilege to be able to sit and watch all of the presentations, to really bring the presentations home that day. And the thing that became clear over the course of the day is that we've entered an era of what I'm calling super tools. So these are tools that so amplify our capacities that really one person can use one of these super tools and change the world. And so, you know, we had Andrew Hessel talking about the super tools in biology. We had Phil Alvelda talking about the super tools in neurology, and have all of these amazing tools now. So it's really up to us to start to think about, okay, how do we want to use these tools for the kind of world we want to live in? And it's really about, my talk was very much about bringing the focus back to us. And I broke it down. I said, look, there's that line from Poor Richard, you know, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. It's like, that's really kind of the priority. And that's kind of the order of the priority. And so what I really did was break it down and say, let's think about how we're going to use these super tools to be healthy, so that they can actually be constantly working with us. It's not something external, but something that grows with us and learns with us to maintain our health for as long as possible. And so I was really taking a very practical point of view to how do we actually make the super tools we have most useful to the most number of people. A hybrid world is really where we're sort of fully across the fact that the world, both inside, which we think of as the digital world, but this world of interiority, and the world of physical things, are really starting to get very mixed up in all sorts of unexpected ways. And so that you can have machines that are interfacing with brains, or you can have biology that's programmable or maybe carrying messages inside of it. So there's this idea that there's a world that's separate from us, and then there's a world that's interior to us, that boundary line is really getting crossed so many times now that we want to think about it comprehensively and comprehensively differently. There's going to be a lot more embedded intelligence in the world over the next 5 or 10 years. We're in this interesting moment between machine learning becoming fairly possible, and it is now fairly possible, and machine learning being very widely applied. And so what we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years is all these instances of the world getting a lot smarter than it is now. And there's a funny thing about that, because while it's going to be a good thing and cars will be driving themselves around and buildings will be running their energy, it also means that a car that is smart enough to drive itself around will be smart enough to say, I don't want to drive you somewhere. Or a building will be smart enough to say, I'm sorry, I actually need to save energy, so you're going to be a little too warm or a little too cold in this building today. So the smarter the world gets, the more voices there are, the more autonomy there is. And so the world then starts to maybe better serve the needs of a broad culture or of the state of South Australia, but maybe not quite so well tuned to what an individual wants. On the other hand, you walk into your home at night, your home will have learned so much about you, it will be so well tuned to your needs that in some sense it's going to be more comfortable than it's ever been. So both of those things are going to be happening at the same time. So the entire world is going to be more intelligent, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be more our way, or not all the time. The conference day was one of the best conference days I have ever been to. And it was extremely hard to sum up a conference day where my brain had been so stretched in so many beautiful directions, so consistently all day long. And it's the kind of thing that everyone who is there will be thinking for the next year until the next hybrid world about what they learned on that day. For the last 2 days, we've been working with a very hand-picked group of 15 startups, really helping them refine their ideas so that they can get the best possible idea. And we have international experts who are really, really good at being able to listen to these startups, understand what they're really doing, and helping them make their businesses either better businesses or more communicable businesses, because they're going to be pitching for money today, but to investors more generally. And what we're helping them to do is get that pitch so clear and so well designed in terms of, this is a real business, this is going to make money, this is how it's going to make you money, that every business that's been through has, I think, a clear idea of not just the business they're in, but how to sell that business to an investor. The interesting thing about the lab is that it's a real range of ideas. And there's a biotech company here who's developed an amazing test for early stage cancer that will save lives. They only need a little bit of money, but they do need that money. And now they're learning how to be able to tell people how they need that money, all right? And at the other end of the scale, we have a company that's figured out how to take the really expensive process of bumping stores into malls, which costs about $400,000. They can cut that cost by 30%. By just doing a little bit of automation and paperwork. It's something that no one had thought of. We don't normally live in that world, but if you own a department store or a shopping mall, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on that. They're just about to cut that out. And so there's an idea of a market that no one had looked at yet that's going to be very profitable versus something that's going to save lives. And so it's that broad range. But each of these companies still needs to be able to communicate what they're doing, both in a message, but in business terms. Hybrid World is going to be the kind of day that just not only blows your mind, but sets you on a new direction, that just completely gives you a compass that maps out the world that you want to live in and gives you a sense of how to get to that world. So I think that's why you'd want to be here.